Why, hello there YouTube and welcome to a tag video. I'm Random Ross and today is a horror tag called the most underrated horror tag. This was created by Sean Patrick Erschen over at the Horror Corner, and I was tagged by the Horror Miser Monty G to do this one. So there's 9 questions, all to do with underrated horror. So here we go. Let's just get right into it. So coming in at question number 1, it is: what is the most underrated horror film of the past 20 years? I'm going to give the same answer Sean gave in his video, because I did watch Sean Ershen's video. I was going to do this anyway, but then, well, Monty G tagged me in this, so anyway, yeah, I'm going to give the same answer Sean gave in his, and I'm going to go with Sinister. Again, yeah, he's right, this doesn't get enough credit, you know. I mean, it had a not so good sequel, but still, I like this one, you know, the suspense, the jump scares, the sinister feel of it, and Ethan Hawke's performance in this with Vincent D'Onofrio, and then there's the bogeyman in it, Bagul. Yeah, this came out in 2012, and yeah, I haven't heard anyone kick a fuss about it or anything, and yeah, I would say this is an underrated horror in the last 20 years. You know, and Silencio, he's going to review Sinister in August, so not far. Question 2: what is the most underrated slasher movie of all time? I'm going to go with The Burning. This, I think, came out around the same time as Friday the 13th Part 2. Yeah, early 80s, we had quite a lot of summer camp slashers, such as Friday the 13th and Sleepaway Camp, but The Burning I don't hear enough people talk about. And Tom Savini, he actually turned down doing the special effects in Friday the 13th Part 2 to do the effects for this film, The Burning. So yeah, I've only seen this film once, but yeah, it is kind of underrated. So I'm going to go with The Burning. Question 3: who is the most underrated horror director of all time? Do you know what? I'm going to go with the same answer Sean gave in his: Tom Holland. No, not Spider-Man Tom Holland. You know, not the actor Tom Holland. No, I'm on about the horror filmmaker that is Tom Holland. He's done many stuff. He wrote the screenplay for Psycho 2, which I didn't know he did. And of course he gave us Child's Play and Fright Night. I don't know anything else he's done. He's probably done a lot more that I've seen, but I can't think of just off the top of my head. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Tom Holland on that one. Question 3. That was question 3. Question 4: who is the most underrated horror actor of all time? Let's see. That's a bit of a toughie. Let's see, who am I going to go with on this one? Underrated horror actor. I think I'm going to go with... gosh, it's so hard to think off the top of my head. Underrated horror actors. Do you know what? I'm going to go with Jonathan Breck. He plays the Creeper in the Jeepers Creepers franchise. Yes, I'm aware of the controversy behind the films. I'm not talking about, you know what, etc. I'm talking about Jonathan Breck. He plays the Creeper in all 3 films, and he does a great job in it. He doesn't even have any lines in this film. He does have one line in a deleted scene of the first film, but I'm glad they cut that out, because the Creeper is just as good as he is without any dialogue. And yeah, I think Jonathan Breck is probably quite underrated, so I'm going to go with that one. Don't know if he is or not, but there you go. Okay, so question 5: Who is the most underrated horror actress of, or who is the most underrated actress of all time in horror? Do you know what? I think I'm going to go with PJ Souls. She was in the original John Carpenter's Halloween. She played Laurie's friend Linda, you know, in the scene, you know, and she's the one who got strangled by the phone wire by Michael. And yeah, I don't see her getting much mentioned, or I don't know, but I don't know any other stuff she's been in. She's probably been in a bit more horrors. Yeah, she was in the first Halloween, and she was also in The Devil's Rejects. She had a cameo in that as that single mother that was getting a kid into the car, and then Captain Spaulding nicked her car. You know, the one who he punched in the face, that woman. Yeah, so I'm going PJ Souls on that one. Do excuse the noise outside, I've got my window open, because if I don't, I'll be red hot. Okay, so, next one. Question 6. What is the most underrated horror sequel of all time? Do you know what? I think I'm going to go with... Let's see. I'm going to go with Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. A lot of people... That film gets crapped on because they say Jason isn't the killer. No, yeah, he's not the killer. It has Tommy Jarvis in it, obviously played by a different actor in this. But I think the whole fake Jason, the Roy Burns Jason, I think he did a good enough job. I mean, they were probably trying to get this, like, you know, in a different direction, like trying to hand over the torch. But obviously that idea didn't work, and they went back to Jason in the 6th film. But still, you know, the image of Jason still haunted people in that franchise, and yeah, I like that one. I do. I like Friday the 13th Part 5, and it does have a good soundtrack, and it does have, you know, a good stand-in Jason, like a substitute. But yeah, I find this one underrated quite a bit. So that's the horror sequel one done. So, question 7. What is the most underrated death scene in a horror film? Okay, let me see. Let me think. There's so many that's underrated. I'm just trying to think now of one. I think I'll go with the. I'm probably going to go with the cockroach scene from A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, is it? Or is it Nightmare on Elm Street 4? One of those two, where one of the characters is having a nightmare where they're turning into a cockroach, then Freddy gets her and crushes her. You know, I think that's an underrated death. You know, definitely from the Nightmare franchise, I would find. But yeah, that's the one I'm going with. That's the one I could think of. Okay, so question 8. What is the most underrated soundtrack or score in a horror film? Now, they had a great soundtrack with Friday the 13th Part 6. You know what? I'm going to go with Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. That I find as an underrated soundtrack. It had a great song from Motorhead, the song Hellraiser, that they sang for the soundtrack of that film and their music video. I find that underrated because I don't hear enough people talk about that. So, yes, Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, the soundtrack from Motorhead in that one. And the last question, question 9, what is the most underrated horror film of all time? So, what is the most underrated horror film of all time? Let me see. I gotta think of one now. Yeah, I'm just getting. Oh God, horror underrated horror. Do you know what? Yeah, I've got one. Sleep Stalker. It is a 1995 supernatural horror that is from where a young boy's parents are murdered by a serial killer called the Sandman, and then many years later when the Sandman killer gets put on death row, he comes back as this evil sand monster and wants to kill the main protagonist, Griffin. And then there's a big twist on why the Sandman's after him. I don't want to give it away, but this is so underrated. I haven't heard enough people talk about this. I feel like I'm the only one who's actually seen or ever mentioned this film. So, Sleep Stalker. I'm going to go with that one. Sleep Stalker as the most underrated horror film of all time. Okay, so this is usually the bit where I tag someone. I think I'm a bit late to the party, so do you know what? I'm going to tag whoever's watching, and if you want to do this tag, then go ahead, do it. Just be sure to give credit to Sean Patrick Erschen for creating this tag. So yeah, I want to thank the Horror Miser Monty G for tagging me in this. So yeah, so that's it for this tag video. So so if you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and to hit the notification bell so you can stay notified. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All my social media links are down below. So that has been the most underrated horror tag. So yeah, until next time, don't have nightmares.